Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here today with Bretonnia. They're going to be taking on the Dark Elves, another replay submitted by Karg, so let's get straight to it. King Lewin leading the way. We've got some regular Pegasus Knights behind him. Interesting pick. Pretty decent against the Dark Elves. We've also got Grail Knights and Knights of the Realm on each flank, including the Knights of the Lion-Hearted. Whole mess of peasants through the center, as to be expected. Peasant mobs. Couple archers, we've got some spearmen as well, Damsel Lore of Heavens, so no healing there. Looks like we've also got some mounted yeomen, the melee version, in each corner. For the Dark Elves, lots of Cold One Knights here. We've got Cold One Dread Knights, 3 regular Cold One Knights, make that 4, and 2 Cold One Dread Knights, 2 Shades, Witch Elves, Reaper Bolt Thrower, and a front line of Bleak Swords with a Supreme Sorceress Lore of Death. Very interesting to see the Dark Elves go super heavy on the Cold One Cav, although certainly this matchup generally has been favoring Bretonnia. The new changes to the Cold Ones, I don't know if that changes that, so I'm interested to see how these guys will do here. But Bolt Thrower's opening up shots. I just heard a Wind Blast go off. Looks like it just wrecked through those great swords, or sorry, those Bleak Swords there. They're definitely not great swords. But the Bolt Thrower is just going to be picking away at these Grail Knights and other, high-value Cav units. Looks like they're maybe going after the Damsel as well. So, yeah. So far, pretty even. Taking a hit on a unit of Bleak Swords like that isn't the worst. And it looks like an Overcast Spirit Leech to extend the cast range. Spirit Leech is actually not terrible against heavy cavalry because it will kind of pick off unit models like this. You can see it kind of drops each individual model. It won't do a ton of damage, but over the course of a battle, you can kind of whittle away. And yeah, we'll see how these guys do here. The Bleak Swords are about to get face charged here probably, but we'll see. There are Cold One Knights waiting to counter charge, so it's going to be a little bit of a cat and mouse game. Another really nice Wind Blast just ripping apart those Bleak Swords. But yeah, Cold One's not quite being drawn all the way out. Both players kind of trying to bait the other one into an unfavorable engagement here, because how this cavalry engagement plays out is obviously largely going to determine the outcome of the battle. Although Bretonnia is on a little bit of a timer because of the Bolt Thrower and because of the Spirit Leech. They do have to get this going here, so you can see Knights of the Lion-Hearted here. Going to get it started, then the Grail Knights come in, charge straight through onto the Cold One Dread Knights. Let's see, so Curse of the Midnight Wind here, debuffing the Dark Elf troops. That is going to affect the Cold One Knights very significantly, and especially due to the fact that Grail Knights and Knights of the Realm are non-armor piercing units, quote-unquote. They have primarily non-armor piercing damage. That armor sundering effect from the Curse of the Midnight Wind will be particularly important here. But yeah, you can see as the engagement's playing out here, the Cold One Dread Knights in sustained combat will do quite well against the Grails there. The Cold One Knights over here trading pretty well against the Knights Lion-Hearted. It's a little bit tough to say. King Lewin's now dropping Stand Your Ground. Looks like Sword of Corone's also going down, but not actually affecting many of these units. That being said, the Bleak Swords just got crushed through in the front line. The Shades, however, are going to be able to hold off any of these peasant infantry no problem. The most cost-effective way to deal with the Shades is to use the Bowmen. But, yeah, you can see there, the Bowmen are being threatened by some Dread Knights here, so the Pegasus Knights, who have been getting a pretty good rear charge, are going to go over there. These Grail Knights and Knights of the Realm are sitting in sustained combat against these Cold One Knights, which is probably not the best. But, if they try and pull away, they'll take a lot of damage, and some very nice Overwatch fire from the Shades as well, up on the high ground there, so yeah, it's a little bit of a tough situation, but the Pegasus Knights are able to come down and catch these Cold One Dread Knights, keep them from getting into the Peasant Archers, which is going to be very important. A Spirit Leech on the Pegasus Knights, though, will do quite a bit of damage, and another unit of Dread Knights following up here. So both units of Dread Knights now unified. They're going to be able to finish off those Pegasus Knights, and still more Overwatch fire from the Shades. Balance power is showing slightly in Bretonnia's favor, though. Lewin's still completely healthy, and this is a really bad situation for the Dark Elves. The Supreme Sorceress getting caught out all alone here. She's going to run in the other direction and try and have the Dread Knight screen out here. Very good play to try and stay alive. Obviously, loss of leadership would be big for the Dark Elves. But another very nice Overcast Curse to Midnight Wind to give it a little bit longer duration. And that is going to mean these Knights coming in to support Lewin now as he sits and fights against some of these Cold One Knights. The armor is going to be sundered as the Grail Knights charge in, and oh man, that guy just got straight up I guess I wouldn't call it unhorsed because he's not on a horse, but unlizarded. I don't know, but that was a clean lance hit right there. Anyway, the Grail Knight's going to come in and just absolutely wreck with the Curse of the Midnight Wind up, and you can see both units of Dread Knights crumble very quickly, despite their good melee defense and everything. Yeah, they're just going to go away, and then that leaves Miss Supreme Sorceress all alone to get punted and played with by Lewin and Beaky. So yeah, you can see over here the Shades having secured themselves pretty well. Not really too much to threaten them at the moment. A lot of the Bretonnian cavalry is pretty tattered, but this pocket right here, the Witch Elves came through. They're going to cut up some of these peasants here, but there are still some Grail Knights. With their magic damage, they'll be able to do a lot to those scantily clad ladies who are relying on their physical resistance. These Shades will be able to see off the yeomen for pretty much no cost. But at the same time, they are getting distracted, which then allows them to get shot by these peasant archers. And this is probably one of the best uses of peasant archers, going after these high-value, low-armor units like Shades, Witch Elves. There's quite a few high-value, low-armor units for the Dark Elves. So yeah, you can see the Witch Elves getting cleaned up there, the Supreme Sorceress getting chased off by the Damsel. And, yeah, the Damsel, I'm sure, just complaining about the Supreme Sorcerer's lack of modesty as she rides all prim and proper in side saddle. But, yeah, it's going to be victory for Bretonnia. Very well played to both players. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. Yeah, Kark did a great job with his knights there, doing exactly what he needed to, forcing some good engagement. Great supporting magic as well from the Damsel. Really like the use of Curse of the Midnight Wind here. It's nice to see Bretonnia without just healing spam as well. Very, very good play. And Mookip's definitely a very solid player. We've seen him on the channel before. And yeah, definitely a very good player. So, yeah, using a different lore than Lore of Life in high-level play. Who would have thought? Very fun stuff. Knights of the Realm did quite well. At least Knights of the Lion-Hearted. Yeah, the Grail Knights 62 and 78 against a relatively low model count army is pretty impressive. The Wind Blast and the Curse of Midnight Wind. King Lewin racking up 40 himself. As far as Mookip's Dark Elves go, I mean, obviously you would expect the Witch Elves to cut up a few peasants. Same thing with the Bleak Swords. They cut through some mobs pretty well. 23 kills on this peasant mob. I have no idea how that happened. But regardless, the Cold One Dread Knights, one of them 58 kills on an XP Chevron. He did manage to catch out those Pegasus Knights and deal with them relatively well. The Knights of the Realm that were over on the right flank got dealt with. The Grail Knights, he did an okay job, but it was just a little bit tough getting that situation with Lewin there. Having the Supreme Sorceress get caught out because she was on foot. I might have liked to have seen her go on horseback. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Shades, to be honest. Here they can get outranged by peasant archers, and they're also relatively expensive, so I'd probably cut the Shades, and that would allow you a little bit more funds to bring the Supreme Sorceress on a mount so that she can try and get away, stay mobile, stay with the Dread Knights as much as possible. And then, yeah, the Bolt Thrower is probably a pretty good idea. I might trade the rest of the cost into, 1 to 2 more Bolt Throwers potentially, just because the Bolt Throwers, you can pick away at long range. You really have to force your opponent to fight on your terms, and with this much heavy cavalry, you can sort of play forward from the Bolt Throwers a little bit and try and, stay at an arm's length away. That way, the enemy cav can't really get to your Bolt Throwers, and because you have all this mobility they have to deal with first, will give your Bolt Throwers quite a bit of time to help support those cavalry engagements. I don't know, just a little bit of food for thought. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about these builds. They're definitely very fun stuff. Always nice to see Bretonnia carry a game. They seem to be in a pretty good place. I mean, again, this was one of the matchups before. All of the elf matchups, to be honest. All the Dark Elves, the High Elves, the Wood Elves, they're all weak against Bretonnia in my view. The Wood Elves being the weakest against Bretonnia, but if we go ahead and have a look here, just because of the great variety of very good heavy cavalry, Knights Errant are super cost effective. You have Knights of the Realm, Grail Knights with their magic damage, anti-large bonus, and massive charge bonus. Hard counter quite a few units from all 3 of those factions. But yeah, Dark Elves, I have seen them contest the cav game before to a relatively decent degree. If we have a look here, Death, you know, just supporting with straight up damage could definitely help. There may be some other more worthwhile, I don't know, it's hard to say with them. We'll have think about that in just a minute here, but if we have a look, I mean, Cold One Knights are pretty decent with some of their recent buffs. They've got decent sustained combat stats, not the best charge bonus in the world, but that weapon strength is pretty impressive with 14 anti-large and good armor-piercing damage. The Cold One Dread Knights don't have the anti-large, but they have a little bit better sustained combat stats, a little bit more armor, which again does help against the non-AP Bretonnian cav. So yeah, I do sort of see what he was going for there. With the supporting magic of the Lore of Heavens there, obviously that turned out a little bit differently. I might go a couple different ways here. Number one is Lore of Fire. Lore of Fire will give you access to Flaming Sword of Ruin, which helps a lot against Grail tier units. Anything that has physical resistance, if you have Flaming Sword of Ruin, of course, because it gives magic damage and it gives additional weapon strength, you can cast this on your Cold One Knights, your Cold One Dread Knights, and they'll get magic attacks to be able to cut through you know, those Grail Knights more effectively. Likewise, because the Cold Ones are going to be trying to seek a more sustained combat, Cascading Fire Cloak gives additional armor-piercing damage and melee defense, so obviously it synergizes very well with those Cold One Knights. In general, Burning Head can be good for clearing out peasant lines. I would say Flamestorm you probably don't want to take here, but it can certainly be fun. Piercing Bolts of Burning, if you want to have some fun, it's expensive in terms of gold costs. It's not too much on Winds of Magic for what it can do. It does have a relatively long spin-up time, so be careful that your opponent doesn't dodge it, but this does pure armor-piercing damage, and whatever is in that area of effect pretty much gets deleted. That includes heavy cavalry. It's really, really good at taking down like a big blob of knights. If you can get them pinned in with stuff and keep them from running away, the spin-up time, you know, if they don't dodge it, then it will pretty much delete whatever's underneath it. So Piercing Bolts of Burning can be a good option here. Likewise, Fireball can be a good option, you know, sort of like how he was using the Spirit Leech there just to sort of pick away at those heavy cavalry units, you know, blow up a couple unit models here and there. So really, almost all of the spells on Lord of Fire would be useful. Obviously, you'll want to pick and choose, you know, your poison a little bit more specifically based on what you're bringing with your build, but Lore of Fire is a really good option here, I think, is sort of a counter. Lore of Shadows is also a pretty good one. Lore of Shadows, you know, you've got your Melkos Mystifying Miasma, which is great for slowing down enemy heavy cavalry. It's not a huge speed debuff, but it does a little bit of damage, helps you control the battlefield a little bit. Enfeebling Foe is basically just the mirror of Harmonic Convergence, lets you nuke a single target's combat stats, which can help play out a key engagement, especially against, you know, like Lewin or Grail Knights or some of those higher tier units. Penumbral Pendulum, very good wind spell, for clearing out chaff. Doesn't have the leadership effect of the Burning Head, but it is a little bit faster and more reliable. The Withering gives armor and leadership, not the most amazing spell. Occam's Mind Razor, again, magic damage and extra weapon and armor piercing. Not the most expensive in terms of Winds of Magic, but it is a little bit expensive on the gold cost, in my opinion, but still. Can be a very useful spell here to help buff up. Unfortunately, you don't get the area of effect with this one. It is only a single target, but still. Pit of Shades is also pretty decent against heavy cavalry. I actually haven't tried Pit of Shades in this patch. They said they fixed some of the vortex and area of effect damage spells, so I kind of want to try out Pit of Shades and see how it will do. But potentially it could do well against a big blob of heavy cavalry again. So just some food for thought. Personally, you know, I like the pick of Lore of Death there, but I think that you're going to get maybe more value, especially with all those Cold One Knights, with just pure supporting magic, or, you know, something to help support that cavalry engagement a little bit more directly. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, though. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.